My name is Sarah. I'm going to walk you step by step through this painting called Bun Bun. It's a cute little rabbit. This one is really fun if you're looking for something to paint, especially for Easter, since that is coming up. So I'm going to walk you step by step through that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through our supplies first. So everyone should have a roll of brushes. You're going to unroll your brushes. You're going to want to keep this rag to the side. You're going to want to use this to wipe off any paint throughout as you're painting. Then you want to make sure that you have 4 brushes. Your 4 brushes should be a large flat, a small flat, a large round, and a small little round that we call the detail brush. See, what you want to do is you're going to want to put these right into your water cup, brush down. You want to keep them in your water cup whenever you're not painting. That will keep the paint wet and the brush is wet so nothing dries out. So we're going to start with the background of this painting. The background of the painting is just a solid yellow. So super easy, fun first step. Start with your largest brush, the large flat brush. You're going to take some yellow. I'm going to do just a little smidgen of white. Mix that together. And then I'm just going to apply yellow on the back. You can go any which way. Feel free to go nuts with this if you want to do crazy lines for texture. You just want to go back and forth. Totally up to you. But I'm just going to continue painting until my entire background is completely covered in this yellow. Using water as you paint will help the paint spread. So that's also a nice little tip for you guys. Unless you're specifically trying to do a dry brush technique, you'll definitely want to keep adding water to your paint. Alright, look at that. First step done already. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take just about a 5-minute break. The goal in the break is to let the entire background dry. Before we come back, or when we come back I should say, we're going to put in the outline of the bunny and then maybe some outline of the green. We'll see how far we get. And now you get to enjoy watching paint dry, which is the funnest part of every single painting. And all you have to do is hit pause on your screen right there. All right, and we are back, and we are going to go ahead and start painting our the shapes of the rabbit. So we're going to start with this bottom part. It's kind of like 2 parentheses, if you kind of do it that way. Then we're going to create the arms, which is again 2 parentheses, but a little bit smaller. Then we're going to focus in on the shape of the face, which is just kind of a curve, and then we're going to put in the ears. So I switched to the large brown brush. This is what I'm going to use to create the shapes of the bunny. And then I already mixed a little bit of white in with my brown right here. Just like that, just to get a lighter brown. You can darken it if you want, but I like to start with a lighter color. All right, so I have my brown paint on my large round brush. I'm gonna go ahead and start at the bottom here and kind of see where I want those parentheses to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of create those parentheses. There's 1, there's 2. Now you can always start things off a little bit smaller and then kind of add them to make them a little bit wider, but it's really hard to go the opposite way. So always try to paint smaller and then you can just make it bigger. But again, you can't really go the opposite way, so you don't want to start off too big. So again, these are like my parentheses for the bottom of the bunny. So about that tall. So that's pretty good. Then what I want to do is, it's like I want to make these arms, which is about this tall, and they're a little bit more in. So I'm going to start right about here on both sides. And then I'm just marking the parentheses again. Alright, the next thing that I'm going to do is the shape of the face. Again, it's just a nice kind of curve, kind of like a C. or a U, however you want to see it. So it starts at the top of the face, goes in a little bit more, then it goes out. So in, then out. Again, you can make touch-up as you go. If your body's a little too skinny, now's the time that you can make it just a little bit wider if you want. All right, now the ears. Now the floppy ears. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create kind of like two curved lines going up, and then we're gonna have one kind of flop over, and then one kind of just sticking straight. And we're gonna take pink later, and we're gonna do pink on top of the brown a little bit later, so we're not gonna focus on that right now. We're just focusing on the overall shape of the ears. So I wanna start about right here for this ear. I wanna go up almost to the top, and then kind of flop it over. Alright, there's one ear. And there's a line going between the two ears. Then we have the second ear. This one's just going straight up and kind of curved to the left. And there's no flap on this, it's just sticking straight up, so we're just going to curve it back down. Alright, that's pretty much going to be the shape of the bunny. And again, if it's a little skinny or a little too small, you can always kind of fatten it up a little bit by re-going over some of these lines. Alright, and then all I'm going to do is just paint in the entire bunny shapes with this brown. Looks like we're going to need a couple layers of brown, as you can still kind of see some of the background behind it, which is totally okay. It just means we have to do another layer once everything dries. Okay, so while we let this dry before we do our second layer of brown, what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and put in some light green for the shapes of the flowers behind it. So I'm going to use that same brush I was using, the large round brush. I just want to rinse it out, kind of rub it on the bottom of that water cup. That will get nice and clean. You can use your rag and kind of dry it off. Then all I'm going to do is take a little bit of white in with my green to get my lighter green. Or put a little bit of yellow in it. Get nice bright green. Okay, now that I have that color, I'm going to go ahead and kind of mimic the lines that we can see here for the stems of the flowers. So on this side, it looks like we have one starting on the bottom. Kind of goes up, kind of curves in. This one kind of curves out. This one goes up, there's going to be a flower here. So you can see I did this line, and then I did this line, just kind of pretending. You don't even have to leave a space where the flower's going to be. We're going to paint the flower right over it. Then I'm going to start with this line. So you can see this one's coming out from the side of the bunny. And it looks like it's just one curve that goes all the way up almost to the ears. So we're going to start right about here. Go all the way up. Good. And then it looks like there is some more stems coming this way. So this one that I started here, all I'm going to do is right around here, I'm going to go in and then back up. Alright, so that's one side. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus in on the other side. So I'm just going to do this strand coming up right here, starting from the bottom, creating a curve, like that. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this other one, starting from the bottom, kind of curves in and then back away. So again, starting from the bottom, curves in, curve away and up. Just like that. So that's that one right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this one, starting from the side of the bunny, so right over here. I'm going to have some grass coming out from here. Looks like it goes up. There's going to be a flower right about there. And then looks like there's another line that kind of goes up here. And then it looks like there's a couple lines that show up behind the ears, so you're going to make sure you get those. And just do one kind of coming like that. One kind of coming like that. So now we get to do another fun round of watching paint dry and take another break. So we're going to take another 5 minutes and let this do completely dry. And then when we come back, we're going to do a second layer of brown on the bunny because you can still see the background and you don't want that. Then while we're letting that dry, we're going to go ahead and put some more layers into the flowers. So stay tuned. Alright, we are back and we are painting Bun Bun. So my brown is still not completely 100% dry, so what I'm going to do is actually focus in on the flowers so I can keep going, and then we'll come back to the bunny. So what you want to do is create a shadow color for the lines so that way they have a little bit more dimension to these stems for the flowers. So you can see that there's a nice kind of dark green going in here that kind of plays off as a shadow. So I'm still going to use that large round brush. And the green that I made was just a little bit of blue and yellow. It creates a really nice, really pretty dark bluish green. So that's the color I'm going to use. And then all I'm going to do is just kind of in random areas, just kind of put in where a shadow might be. And we're going to take black and outline it a bit later. So you're going to do this to all of those light green lines. Just add in a shadow line. Alright, looks like I got all those lines in. So again, we're going to rinse out our brush. And we're going to want to let that dry. Hopefully by now the brown is pretty dry. Let's see here. It's okay. Let's see if we can work with it. So still using that large brown round brush. I just grabbed some solid brown. You just want to kind of go over the brown that I have, just so you can't see the background. through the brown. You don't want to see that. So I'm just focusing on the area, so like up here on the ears, I want to make sure I'm getting where there's not going to be pink. There we go, that seems to be covering pretty well this time around. Sometimes you just gotta have a little bit of patience, do things in layers. So while the brown is still wet, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and put the kind of like fur part on the chest of the bunny right here, just by using white. So just going over with brown, just creating short, quick lines of paint, and then white. I haven't even rinsed off my brush yet. I'm just grabbing gobs of white paint. So a little bit of the brown kind of blends with it. I'll do another layer of white on top of this. Alright, we got some fur going on right there. Alright, so while we let all of this dry, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and focus in on our flowers. So the flowers don't have to be perfect. No two flowers look exactly the same, so each one can be totally different. And you don't have to do this type of flower if your favorite flower is a daisy or any type of flower. You can go ahead and paint that instead. You don't have to do these. But I'm going to go ahead and copy what I have here, so that way mine looks as close to the original as possible. So I'm still using that large round brush. The main brush that we're using for this painting, as you can tell. And we're gonna go ahead and make purple. But again, if your favorite color is pink, yellow, orange, red, whatever flower color that you want, you can go ahead and create that. Because remember, this is your painting at the end of the day, so you gotta make what you like. So I'm gonna be mixing blue and red together. That's gonna make purple. The more blue you have, the more bluish purple you're going to create. The more red that you include, the more reddish purple. And you'll kind of understand that if you're kind of playing around with the paint colors, you'll kind of understand what I'm talking about. So right now I'm really focusing on just on like a nice dark bluish purple. So I want more blue than red. That looks pretty. It's a little dark though, so what we're going to do is we're going to add just a little bit of white. Alright, so now we're getting a nice light bluish purple. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and start doing our flowers. So let's start with this first flower right over here. So it kind of has a petal. I like to do them by petals. I'll create this one first. Just kind of curves. So there's one. The second one's kind of going off this way. And then it looks like there's a little part here in the middle. You want to make sure you get that. And then before this dries, I'm just going to go ahead and grab more white on my brush. And I want to mix some of this lighter purple in with the dark purple. And it's real quick, just to highlight where the different petals are, how one's over the other and then one's in the middle. So this one on my right is the one predominantly in front. So I can keep adding white paint, really make that pop. Then the second one's behind it. And then can't forget to add a little bit of a highlight to that middle part. So that's the basic steps of a flower. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that multiple times. I'm gonna create that one, that one, that one, and then a part of a little guy right here. So I got 3 flowers done on this side. We're gonna go ahead and create the other 2 on the opposite side. Still doing the same technique, starting with that darker purple, adding white on top of it. Okay, so what we're gonna do now that we have our flowers done, is we're gonna go ahead and focus in on the pink part of the ears, and then focus back on the fur part and the center of the chest. My brown isn't dry enough yet to be able to create all these cute little details, so we're gonna have to keep waiting on that. So using that large round brush yet again, make sure you rinse it out really well. To create pink, all we're doing is we're mixing some white and some red. More white, you get a really light pink. More red, you get a little bit more of a vibrant pink. So it's totally up to you what color pink or what shade of pink you want. I want something a little bit vibrant, so I'm gonna stick something around there. And then all I'm doing is going to be painting inside of the shape of the ear that I already have, where the pink part of the ear goes. So on this one, it's mainly just on the inside of this bad boy. And then this one's a little tricky because there's a flap over it. Normally you would have it go all the way up, just like this guy. But again, the ear kind of like bobbed over like that, which is super cute. So we want to keep that. There we are. So again, mine's a little bit more of the brighter pink. If you want to do a little bit more of a lighter pink, just add more white. All right, now I'm going to focus back in on this kind of fur part in the chest area. And all I'm going to do is add a little bit more of that light brown. Just kind of back on top of it. Just to give it some texture, make it look a little bit more realistic. And I'll go back to some solid white. And just kind of fluffy up a little white in the middle area right there. And you're just going back and forth, real quick lines. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, something kind of like that. And it looks like the base part is now officially dry enough that I can put on some of these little details. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to switch to that small detail brush, so that smallest brush that you have. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put in the eyes. We're going to start with the black. We're going to let the black dry, and then we're going to add in the white on top of it. Again, for this, it might be a little bit intimidating, so start smaller and just kind of continue going to make it bigger. So I know for sure that my eye is going to go there. Oops. So again, I start small until I slowly make it a little bigger to more like the size that I'm looking for. I'm going to take a step back. That still looks a little small. So I'm going to go ahead and make it even bigger. That looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to duplicate it on the other side as best as possible. And be careful, I like to kind of use my hand part to rest on my painting. And you can tell that can cause a lot of mistakes in paint to blend, so just be very careful. Okay, the eye's a little bit bigger, so I want to adjust this eye to match that eye. Step back a little bit and look at it, not bad. Alright, so we're going to rinse this out and we're going to create pink again for the nose. This time I'm going to go a little bit of a lighter pink, so I'm going to add a little bit more white to that pink color I already created. And the nose is just kind of like a squished triangle. So it's going to go probably about right in this area. Something along the lines like that. All right. Let's see if I can cover up some of this purple paint on my face. So while we let this part dry, what we can do now is we can still use that small detail brush. We can start outlining our flowers. So basically all the stems get outlined, and then all you're doing is making a quick outline for each petal. So just using that small detail brush and just black paint, you don't need anything else. I'm gonna go ahead and start outlining. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and let this dry, and then when we come back, we're gonna add in the little details rest for the face, and then we're gonna go ahead and outline the bunny.
All right, we are back. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and knock this painting out by just outlining the rest of the bunny, adding some details in, and then voila, you have yourself a very cute bunny for Easter. So I'm gonna continue to use that small detail brush. And since my bunny looks a little funny right now, I'm gonna go ahead and focus in on the little details for the face. So I'm gonna start with white. And we're gonna just create a smaller circle on the inside of the eyes, as you can see right here and right here. So I'm just focusing in on the top part. Creating a nice little circle. And another little circle on the other eye. It looks to be a little bit smaller. So again, start smaller, work it, make it a little bit larger to the size that you need. Voila, that looks okay. And while I still have some white paint, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna quickly throw on the white highlight line on each of the flowers. So it's real simple. You just wanna create one quick line. Don't spend too much time on it. Just some highlights. All right, there's my highlights on that. Throw in a little bit more white in the center part. All right, rinse your brush out. All right, then we're gonna focus on the black line details again. So I'm gonna start with outlining the ears and work my way down. When I get to the face, I'm gonna go ahead to the nose and then throw on the little kind of mouth lines. Alright, then I'm going to go ahead and do the little nose and then create these two little lines coming out to create the mouth. And again, you're just creating a straight line coming down that middle part. And then just two curves for the mouth, just like that. All right, then we're gonna go ahead and go down the body and do his little arms. So this little arm is gonna go to right about here. Let's see, this one's gonna be about around here. And then remember there's kind of fur in that center chest area. So instead of creating a straight line, you're going to create some curved lines, kind of like this, to really kind of play up the fact that there's some fur in there. That's pretty good. Do some more lines around here. There we go. All right, then we just gotta finish up with the legs. Kind of what the bunny's sitting on. That. And that. Finish up with our parentheses that we started with. All right. So your Bun Bun is now all complete. Feel free to hang it for Easter, since that's coming up in a couple weeks here. It's a beautiful spring day today. Hopefully you'll be able to look outside and see how pretty it is. But I just want to say thank you so much for joining me at Splash Studio Online and painting along with Bun Bun. We appreciate all your support and hope you're enjoying your make and take little kits that you bought from us. Bye guys!